Every time you try to engage, Leona just soaks up all the damage. She can re-engage very easily onto the Nautilus. He can't stop her from jumping on top as well. So I think it would just make a lot of sense. Aphelios also has him prioritized, so you could look to just grab that. You could also look to pair it up with a Braum if you wanted to. Yep. We've been seeing it a fair amount today. I think every Aphelios game has been paired with a Braum today, actually. So that may be the more standard, and it looks like that's what it's going to be.
Yeah, there it is, locked in straight away. Good prediction there, Vedius. Looks like Febiven is looking towards his mid lane pool. Cassiopeia and Azir, the first two hovers. Both of them, Azir got buffed slightly on 10.1, I think it was a 9.24.
The last patch, I'm pretty sure Azir got buffed.
Yeah, 10.1.
Or recently anyway, and I'm not a fan. No. I don't think he's the strongest champion. That, however,
that's a champion
I love. Oh, that's a shame.
But Senna's still very strong.
I mean, yes, of course. She's still very good, and of course, we're actually going to see a rematch of what we saw in Game 1 between G2 and Mads. The Nautilus Senna has early priority. We'll get that early push. We'll be able to trade effectively early on. But once a couple of different weapons come out for Aphelios, you can see some pretty aggressive trading. Yeah. You've got to respect the ability to counter-engage with this Braum and Aphelios duo.
Of course, the first 5 weapons, the order of them for Aphelios is always going to be the same. So you can predict some of that early laning, as you said, and now we see Misfits saying, okay, we're going to get rid of the Ornn ourselves. We don't want you to have the Ornn-Braum combination. And we'll see where Rogue decide to go. Remember, of course, that Qiyana is still triple flex. Could be mid, could be top, could be jungle here for Rogue. And it makes Misfits' decision-making process actually quite difficult right now.
Yep. I thought about banning away junglers if you're Misfits, but as you rightly said, Qiyana could go into the jungle. I like the Jax ban from Rogue. For those unaware, DanDan, very well-known Jax player. So they're just going to take that one away from him. They don't want to have to deal with it. And with the Vladimir being taken off the board from Misfits, again, showing a bit of respect towards Finn. I feel like he was someone that enjoyed that Vladimir, and of course it can be flexed between the top and mid position.
So the thing about this is you're looking at the second stage of draft and you always wonder about the final counter pick, the red 5, like that final pick on the red side. With Misfits having it here, you have the two options. Do you go top lane or do you go mid? Or is that Jarvan also going to be flexed? We have seen Jarvan top in the past.
Nautilus could be flexed.
Nautilus could be flexed.
So you put the Nautilus mid, if you assume Qiyana's mid.
Bevy's been watching Worlds.
You put Nautilus mid lane into the Qiyana, and then you can put Senna support and Misfortune on AD carry. I wouldn't be a fan of that personally against a Braum. It would give you a lot of poke in lane, but I don't think it would be super strong. Blind Gangplank, always a bit dangerous because the risk of a dive is very real. And with,
you know what Finn plays a lot of?
He does play Kled, yeah. Pretty strong diving champion too. I was also thinking Renekton.
Yeah.
You could do like a Renekton Elise here now as well, which would give you that extra bit of AP damage that you're currently lacking. Yeah. Which is something I think they just have to be careful of. Gragas is also a good AP damage source.
You're saying you want an AP?
This is also suggesting that the Qiyana will obviously be in a solo lane. I'm kind of expecting it to be in the mid lane right now, but they could put it into the Gangplank if they wanted to.
They definitely could. We'll see where they want to go. Let's have a little bit of time.
Oh, okay.
Irelia is going to be the final pick.
I think that is being played into the Gangplank.
Okay.
So, I'll tell you a funny story once we get into the game about Irelia. But Irelia, I think, is quite a good matchup into the Gangplank. So, final pick for Misfits. They're just kind of... They're looking for their mid laner right now. I think Diana would be good.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
You know what Febiven plays a lot of, though? LeBlanc. And that is what he has locked in. There is a slight graphical error on the screen. That one of those two Sennas is a LeBlanc.
Yes.
We're not playing TFT. You can't have multiple Sennas on the same team.
Yes. Febiven is playing LeBlanc. He's going to be bringing back this assassin into the mid lane. She has, according to the pros, been kind of rising in priority, kind of in there depending on the matchup.
Okay.
I think that she can do quite well into Qiyana because obviously ranged into melee matchup, you can be very aggressive. Your chain can still land even though she's invisible. Your W can still hit her even though she's invisible.
Okay.
Your mobility means that when the Qiyana jumps on top of you, you can jump away.
Yep.
So like all your mobility actually does pretty well against the Qiyana.
And also, you can escape Gragas ganks relatively easily.
Yes.
You keep that distortion up. The other matchups, Aphelios, Senna, we've talked about that a little bit already. What are your thoughts on top lane? Because you said you thought the Irelia, when it was locked in, was definitely going to go into this Gangplank.
So, I'll never forget, I was duo queuing with Yamato Cannon.
Okay.
And he locked in Gangplank, right? And then the enemy team locked in Irelia. And the first thing he says when we get into game is, I've lost, right? And I'm like, what's wrong? And he's like, this matchup is really horrible for the Gangplank.
Okay.
There's nothing I can do. And lo and behold, level 3, he dies, right? Now, what the Gangplank did in that game, Yamato, he just roamed around the map. He didn't even bother 1v1ing. But I don't think DanDan's going to have that same liberty. And we're going to have to see if he does run the risk of getting dived in the top lane. But I think Irelia is considered a pretty strong pick into the Gangplank.
You can hear the crowd here. Mostly behind Rogue, but I heard some Misfits chants in there as well. Misfits after a very disappointing 2019 for their original roster. Perhaps a little bit of a rise up for their secondary roster, but missing playoffs both splits after having a history of, you know, challenging SKT at Worlds. It was a long time ago, but still the same organization.
I mean, Misfits also had a lot of talented players on it, you know. Even it was the training grounds, I suppose is the word I want to use, for Alphari, for Hansama, for Ignar, like, I mean, even a lot of names we don't currently see. Yeah, exactly. Power of Evil, like Selfie as well. Like, there have been a lot of good names that have traveled through in like the challenger scene from Misfits Academy all the way up to Misfits.
Dreams.
Like, yeah, they've produced a lot of talented players and they've worked with a lot of good players as well. And it was very surprising last year to see the results that they had, especially with the star-studded roster that they did put together. I think a lot of people are quite excited to see Febiven back on the roster.
Yeah.
With the announcement of Ronaldo, many people were like, oh, hey, I've heard good things about him. I'm excited to see him play. But also, I think many fans believe that Febiven kind of got slighted last year. You know, he didn't really get a good opportunity to prove himself. He wasn't the reason why the team was falling apart. And I think it is important for him as a player who's been around for a long time. He was on the 2015 Fnatic roster that also took SKT to 5 games at MSI. He also went 18-0 with that old Fnatic roster. Like, he is a legendary mid laner. And after coming back from North America, I think he needs to be able to prove to everyone what he is capable of. So, yeah, it's a big deal for Febiven. We'll see how he does in his first game back with the team as we see some action down the bot lane.
Not too much going to go on, just a hook traded across. Febiven was one of the reasons Misfits pushed Excel in the Neo Surf Cup. He kind of tried to put Misfits on his back a lot of the time in those games before the LEC had started this split. And of course, you have to look at the other side and say, well, who was one of the names that was synonymous with Misfits? It was Hansama. And he is now joined up with Rogue, has the experience of Vander as a support, and these 3 rookies from last year who really started to strut their stuff on the LEC stage, Larssen, Inspired, and Finn.
Now we can see that Hansama and Vander actually have push in the early 2v2 bot lane, which does surprise me a little bit, because it's very different to what we saw in game 1 when Caps and Mickey were immediately getting that push, really poking and being aggressive in that 2 versus 2. We're also seeing DanDan actually set up the wave for a potential dive onto Finn. He's taking a lot of damage. I actually think he might be out of corrupting potion stacks already as well.
Okay, so Razork should know that Inspired is here. And as soon as he's like, oh, Inspired's there, Febiven backs off as well. No dive going to be able to happen.
Yeah, and you can see the pings come down immediately from Razork saying, hey, I don't think he's done any of his bot side jungle. Yeah. All of this should be up and available, so, you know, either he'll look to steal it away or it gives just information to his bot lane, but either way, it seems that Misfits have good information on what Inspired has been up to in the early.
And that top lane matchup really not going the way we expected it to. If Yamato Cannon was in the game, perhaps the Irelia would have beaten the Gangplank, but DanDan is a very experienced Gangplank player and is able to get that early harass down. Hansama and Vander, of course, with a lot more experience on stage.
I mean, it's also one of those. It's also one of those situations where, like, we saw Rogue pick the Irelia into the Gangplank, so you have to assume that
it's a deliberate choice.
Yeah, he's confident in this matchup, and you would assume that it is considered a counter pick.
I mean, I guess early on as well, at level 1 or so, if you get a couple of parlays to the face, you really can't do much about it.
Exactly that. And he is running Grasp, of course, which does give you that extra bit of sustain as well. And so Finn just playing it defensively in the other game. Now he's got the Doran's Blade. We'll keep an eye on that matchup and see how it transitions throughout the game. Febiven building up a bit of an advantage in the mid lane, as we very much expected in the LeBlanc versus Qiyana matchup. Larssen will be running that Ignite, so he does have down potential later into the game. And in the bot lane, we can see that farm is still very even. Cleanse being run by Bvoy with the heal coming out from Hansama. So far in the early game, nothing too tremendous. We did see a bit of shenanigans up towards the top side of the map, but jungle is now returning to their very quickly respawning jungle camps.
Both Scuttlecrabs did go across to Razork after they spotted that Inspired was topside, sort of shadowing Finn. So Razork has about a level advantage, maybe about half a level, as Inspired has just pinged over towards 4. And both of them on the top side of the map once again. Inspired running Predator, has those early boots, could look for a gank, but the wave's not in the most favorable position for him right now, although that will start pushing out towards Finn.
Inspired now moving in towards the top side. Don't think he'll be able to sneak in because of the positioning of the wave. We can actually see Razork now doing another clear from top to bot side. I wonder if he'll look for an early Infernal, but we've actually got Denyk roaming up towards the mid lane. I think just helping Febiven push that wave out. As we can see, Bvoy, I think he's setting up a bit of a freeze on the bot side of the map. Actually, that wave is pushing against him.
Yeah, that's not great.
That's really bad. His support isn't there, and his wave is pushing against him, and he's already down in farm.
Yeah, Unsummer has a Corfield's Warhammer into just a pickaxe. See the trading here by Larssen. That's the reason Denyk is shadowing him with Razork just around the corner as well. Vander and Inspired here. It could be a 3v3 in the mid lane early on. Febiven, that's the clone.
It is.
That was
They tricked you there, didn't they, Medic? It got you.
I mean, that's the whole point of a clone. So, I got duped.
Nico's the worst one. I don't know how many times I've been tricked by a Nico.
Now, Denyk is on a ward. They know he's back here. Inspired down towards the bottom side. Still managing to clear all his camps, even though it looks like he's been around his laners for a long time. You can see only his Razor Beaks about to spawn. Razork did just step forward. Look at the Cussed Blows, but that's not going to do anything. And the Curse of the Black Mist, of course. So good at keeping an AD carry safe, but also allowing Misfits to engage later on in the game, because you don't know who's standing in there with Senna. It could be Razork, it could be Febiven, it could be DanDan. It could also be Denyk. Could be anything.
No, Bvoy is going to be in there somewhere.
Yeah, you
that's
do,
what
you do know Bvoy is going to be there.
So if he's running at you, you're probably like, okay then, let's go.
There could be 4 other players in there, Vedius. You never know.
You never know. The mystery of the Black Mist. Vander now setting up.
They run away. Denyk will get stunned. Here comes the cannon barrage, and Razork's on his way, but first blood. Actually already going down. There was a lot of burst coming out. Denyk didn't hear. Razork didn't connect. And Rogue get their first kill of the spring split.
Poor Razork. I saw it too, Razork. There were a lot of low health members on the side of Rogue, and he was thinking, hey, I can get a flash EQ here. Flashes, Qs, doesn't land the E.
It's really difficult.
No, it's not, Medic. It's really not. It's actually a core mechanic of Jarvan. Again, first game on stage, these mechanical mishaps do happen, but you're in the pro leagues now, Razork. Mistakes like that are going to cost you games. He's lost his flash now. Bvoy had no mana, so he probably would have been able to follow up anyway. It means that Rogue will secure themselves first blood.
And Summer did have to burn his flash for it. We'll have another look at this, because a lot more bursts came out here than I was expecting.
So Denyk just holds his flash. He thinks that he's safe, but then the root comes out from Hansamah's Gravitum. That then sets up for Inspired to engage. And this may... Oh, here we go. Razork flashes, Qs. Oh, Hansamah also flashed. So, all right, you won the mental game there, Razork.
Did he forget to put down his E?
Yes. I mean, he just...
He just queued without an E.
It was like watching your flash EQ. Not great.
Thanks, Billy.
In any case, Misfits will turn that into an Infernal Drake. 4% bonus AB and AD doesn't really mean a lot.
But Rifthold can mean a lot. And Rogue,
yes, it can.
Rogue have immediately swapped Hansamah up towards the top. Hansamah's now 6. Rifthold should be easily secured. Razork can't safely get in the pit and try and take it away. And there we go. Inspired with his Rifthold can now look to get some of those plates. Because taking the Rifthold this early not only means you get an early infusion of gold onto one of your players, usually onto Hansamah. You know, you want your Aphelios getting ahead. But it also means you can look for that second Rifthold and get even more gold later on in the game.
Look at some of the gold differences. You can see small advantage in the mid lane, but top lane advantage for Finn, bot lane advantage
400
for
gold already.
Rogue.
400 gold already for Hansamah ahead. I mean, he's about 12 farmer.
I mean, it's one of the things when Hansamah was being criticized. I believe a large part of it was because he was being put into a position that he's not used to, right? He is not a leader.
No.
He is not a communicator. He's never been the strongest at turning a team from mediocre to like the best. He's really good at pressing his buttons.
Yep.
That's what he is good at. And when we spoke to him at the end of last split and he said, I've been practicing a lot of pushing my buttons, we got to saw like quadruple Hans Armor, you know? And I feel like now that he's on Rogue, the expectations are that Inspired and Vander can be those leaders, those shot callers, and he can just be a button presser.
Yep.
And then when he's put in that position, you get to see the Hans Armor that many European fans saw of the past, where he is highly mechanically skilled. He does dominate in the laning phase, and he used to be known as like a bit of a two-trick where he played Lucian and he played Draven, and if he got those, great. If he didn't, ugh. But now his pool is clearly expanded. He had a great Xayah game last split. He's also now bringing out the Aphelios, and he's dominated in the 2 versus 2. And you're really getting to see some of the power that Hans Armor does bring.
Finna's got himself a little sword emporium here with the triple longsword Doran's blade, jumping in onto DanDan, but he doesn't trade too effectively as DanDan already has the Sheen, has the corrupting potion. He's even gone towards the Culp, just to get more gold as the game goes on. Now Finn's going to come up here. Maybe doesn't know that Razork is waiting around at the bend. Starts up, he's used his flawless duet. Febiven's coming as well. Flashes away from the Cataclysm. That is a summoner down on the Rogue top laner.
Yep. Finn not respecting the presence of his team on the map. Notice that the jungler is in base right now, so he couldn't really do much off the back of that. And yeah. Ends up getting punished for it. Now the Drake will spawn in a minute 40. I'm curious as to whether the bot lane will look to swap back or not, or whether they just concede the Cloud Drake. Again, I'm a big fan of Cloud Drake. Even if it's not the one on the map, it gives you 10% ultimate.
It's so good.
Yeah, it gives you 10% ultimate cooldown reduction, which is really valuable, especially on Rogue's team.
Yep.
Larssen's ultimate having it up more readily, Inspired's ultimate having it up more readily. Like, having your ultimate available more, good. Thumbs up.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. So, are we going to see that swap back? We are not. Okay. So I wonder what direction Rogue is actually going to go for. Are they going to bother looking to contest for this Cloud Drake? Or instead, are they going to prioritize trying to get more plates up towards the top side?
I'm still wondering on this Rift Herald as well. Inspired only has a quarter of the time left. At the moment, he's around that mid lane, and I'm wondering if he's going to use it there. It looks like he is. This feels a little bit forced by Inspired.
I think it would be better to use it top.
Yeah, I think top is the best place to use it, but he's running out of time.
Well, you have Infernum on Hans Armor, so he's going to instantly push that wave. And there's no AD carry there right now because they just saw Senna mid. So I think the best thing to do is just put that in the top lane.
There we go. Got there just in time, and as this wave pushes in, pop down that Rift Herald. I hope, because otherwise this whole thing's been in vain.
Is he going to use the Rift Herald?
Use it, Inspire. There we go. Hey, we predicted something. I wonder, actually, is it better to use it after you've taken a couple of plates? Because it does a flat damage amount.
Yeah.
So it doesn't matter about armor and magic resist. So you get rid of the couple, you get the bulwarks popped from just auto attacking it.
Sure.
Then use the Rift Herald, and it does a flat amount.
Yeah, that's what they did, right?
Yeah, but I was just saying, like, I hadn't thought about the reasoning behind taking the plates before you put down the Rift Herald.
I see.
And I just pontificated and worked it out.
Pontificated.
And you knew that all along. I pontificated.
Interesting.
It means thinking.
Ah.
Yeah. Oh, Glacial Fissure doesn't connect. Razork will flash away. And that means if Rogue wanted, they could just go down towards this Cloud Drake, knowing that that summoner is down from Razork. But instead, they say, okay, the Bulwark's fallen off that top lane. It's no longer as tanky as a turret as it was a couple of moments ago. We're going to go back top and make sure we secure the first tower of the match.
I mean, that's not the worst decision. Misfits could use this window to secure themselves the Cloud Drake.
That's what they're going to do.
Means it will be Ocean or it will be Mountain. Now, I want Ocean.
Yeah, so do I.
Because Ocean, that... How do I say this? How do I say this politely? Ocean is refreshing. That's what it is, Medic.
It's
I would say that if I had a choice, I would rather have a drink.
Here we go. It's
a
Ocean,
rock.
Betty.
Okay, nice, right. So this Ocean Soul, very important. Very, very, very important because it gives you so much regeneration. Medic, talk us through it.
So the Ocean Soul gives you a lot of regeneration, but the graphic I've actually brought up is talking about the Ocean Rift. It increases the amount of bushes on the map, which makes vision control a lot harder because you have a limited amount of wards and you've got all these extra bushes to put.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Now, Medic, let's talk about the Ocean Soul as well because that one's really important. This was probably the most important one of the game, in my opinion. But like, you make a great point there. You make a great point there. The thing about it is there's a lot more bushes skirmishes on the map. There's also bits of water, which is great for Qiyana too. You can see now, next to that where that little planter spawned, she also has access to another water tool, and there's water in the jungle now for her as well. Now, excellent, you brought up the graphic for the Ocean Soul. You can see that it heals you a significant amount over a period of time.
When you deal damage to enemies.
When you deal damage to enemies. So like it's really valuable. You get it while you're hitting, while you're sieging, and it's so strong later
and it works on minions and monsters as well, to a reduced amount. It's about a third of the regeneration you get if you damage minions and monsters.
But it's the point that you get regeneration in combat, and that's the crazy thing. So,
so good.
If Rogue get the next 4 Drakes, whew, you're gonna feel hydrated.
Yeah.
You're gonna feel like you know your body, what? It's like 80% water, right?
Yeah.
You're gonna be like 90% water.
Oh.
Like all the time.
That would kill you, Vedius.
No, I think it would hydrate you.
You would die.
I think it would make you feel
You're not
really
a slug or a cucumber.
Okay, wasn't expecting that response. All right.
Second Rift Herald of the game, though. We talked about this when Rogue secured the first one. Misfits are going to get the second one, so although with the plates down, doesn't give you as much, can still be used to break a turret pretty darn quickly.
Yes, it can, and I think that they can just go straight to top lane and use that now. I think that would make the most sense, given that Rogue are not in a position to contest, but they're not going to do that. They're actually going to hold on to it for the time being. So Rogue are going to maintain control over the map. They've secured top tower, they've secured bot tower. A lot of this has just come from lane dominance from the bot lane, and then Rogue have done a great job of moving this pressure around the map. Excellent stuff from Hansama and Vander in the 2 versus 2, and Rogue are playing patiently and well with the lead.
Yeah, 16 minutes in, they have a 2,500 gold lead. You have a 30 CS lead on Hansama over Bvoy. And we talked a little bit about Senna having this mid-game dip in terms of damage. He's got the Mana Mune stacking up, but you look at Hansama, he's already got that Essence Reaver, going to be building towards the Infinity Edge. You've got a Dust Blade on Larssen. This is a very strong point of the game for Rogue.
It certainly is. If we have a look at the minimap right now, we can see that what we're going to be expecting from Rogue over the next few minutes is this kind of map setup where they try and get this bot wave pushed in. Oh, Medic, you touched my screen.
Oh, no.
We got to fight on screen anyway.
Look at that, Febiven caught out by Larssen. Dawning Shadow will keep him shielded. I'm sorry, Vedius. It's been a while since we used the touch.
We're going to try this again.
I thought you had
and Medic is not going to touch the screen this time.
I'm miles away.
All right.
I'm standing away.
So, on the minimap, what you're going to see is the Irelia push up top and then use her pressure to rotate through to then set up a flank. The same thing is going to happen in the top lane, and Rogue are going to look to set up this collapse onto the mid lane tower. You can see on your screen right now. Thank you very much, observers. What this will do is force Misfits to play more defensively. They're going to have to get further behind their tower, and this can then allow Rogue to threaten it and set up their siege. If it doesn't secure the tower, it either results in river control around for the next Drake,
in a minute's time,
or vision in the enemy jungle for you to steal camps, like the red buff, the blue buff, or anything in between.
Yeah. Oh, we'll see how they use it. Razork caught out by Inspired. Moonlight Vigil doesn't land. There's a Cataclysm coming in. Death Charge used by Denyk. Teleports from both of them. It's going to be a 4v4 in the jungle for the moment until the teleport's complete. Vander already down as well. Febiven off towards the top side, but Rogue already got 1 kill. Febiven jumps back in with the distortion. Vander's down to half, but Misfits do not want to go any further.
And that's exactly what we were talking about. They could either use that pressure to set up vision, or they could use that pressure to set up the tower. They decided not to go for the siege, and instead they wanted to control the enemy topside jungle, and Razork, he walked into the trap. Rogue were able to find that successful pick, and now they lead the kills 2-0.
18 minutes in. It's once again a slower paced game. If you guys are watching us either on YouTube or on twitch.tv/Riot Games, there's a new channel in town, twitch.tv/LEC. Come join the Twitch channel.
Did he see him? He must have.
Yeah, he saw him go.
Yeah.
100%.
So I guess
here just spots him.
He must have expected that the team could punish him and go for the engage first, but Rogue were the initiators, and they were the ones that come out on top. Febiven, of course, split off from the rest of his team. Bvoy and Denyk couldn't really follow up on that kind of commitment. So, yeah. Very, very surprising.
Yeah. I think, like, there's been a couple of moments where Razork feels like he's just had a little bit of stage nerves, maybe being a bit over anxious to make a play there. Meanwhile, in the bottom lane, when he missed that EQ, the flash EQ combo. And he has got a sizable CS lead. He is still the same level as Inspired, which will be good for him. And if he can play around these dragons, maybe he can get Misfits up towards that Ocean Soul. But right now, he wants to use this Rift Herald. We predicted it top quite a while ago, Vedius, or you predicted it top quite a while ago. And that is where it's going to go. Larssen playing safe. Rift Herald will charge in, and that will be the tower in exchange for the Ocean Dragon in that bottom side of the map.
Right, 1 of 4 potential for Rogue.
Yep.
Of course, cross-map play, but this does also leave the mid lane tower open. Finn, once again, going to use his priority bot to rotate round to mid. And Rogue with 4 members are going to slowly siege this one down.
Can't quite take it yet.
But a lot of damage done, and they will secure themselves a buff. So
oh, Rift Herald got 2 charges though.
Oh, he did.
Interesting.
She did, yes. Wait, I thought the first one was Herald, and the second one was Shelly.
Sure, but they're both women.
Oh, okay.
It's in the lore that they're women.
All right,
so.
fair enough. So I was surprised that he actually let that happen though, because Larssen was in that lane. I was tracking what was happening on the bot side of the map, so I'm not sure why he left that. It could have been that Febiven followed the Rift Herald down on the top map, on the top lane, which meant that he couldn't approach it.
Yeah, I didn't see Febiven there. I feel it was more like Larssen perhaps was going towards the mid lane in case something was going to happen, and then
either way,
Rift Herald just got a second charge in. But yeah, it did. It doesn't really mean too much right now because the tower hasn't been taken, but it has taken it down to about a quarter of its original HP now. Febiven knocked up with a Glacial Fissure, but Unsummer won't follow up with that Moonlight Vigil. Bvoy gets the last embrace onto Finn, but Finn is just able to dodge away as the tower goes down. Bvoy trying to get those stacks up. The Absolution on Senna, one of the reasons she scales so well. Currently sitting at 38 stacks. We'll want 2 more to increase that range once again to 650 on the Senna.
So one of the... we didn't talk much about the stacks today with Senna.
But we can now.
But one of the problems that she has when she can't be aggressive in lane is she doesn't stack them very quickly. So when you're a support, the percentage chance of a soul dropping is something like 60-80%, something like that, right? But when you're AD carry, when you last hit the minions, that percentage drops to 1.67%. Yeah. Which means that the best way for you to generate souls is for you to harass. But normally that's quite easy for her because she has 600 range, her Q goes through minions, like, you should be able to do it, and you should have the power, but because of how hard Bvoy and Denyk lost the 2 versus 2,
you just never get the harassment.
You never generated those stacks, so now his stacking is much slower, and we talked about this mid-game dip that I feel Senna has, because she's still stacking up the Manamune. And yeah, so I feel like right now Bvoy is not going to offer a huge amount if they fought, which is why Misfits is kind of forced to play defensive, and this gives Rogue so much more control over the map. And what I love about how Rogue is playing right now and how it's so different from the previous game is you can see how much more proactive Rogue are being. Every time they push in a wave, they're moving into the enemy jungle. They're looking for picks. They recognize that they are stronger, and they're trying to force fights. And this is what you need to do. Keep fighting in the jungle, take advantage of Qiyana's ultimate that can use the walls, take advantage of the fact that you have much better control over the map. And overall, Rogue playing very... Look, this Baron setup is flawless for them right now.
Beautiful. Now, as the game is still a little bit slow and we see Rogue, you know, resetting to go and get more vision, do you want to play a quick game of Medics Minutia, Vedius?
Oh, God. Okay.
How much damage do you think Razork has done in this game to enemy champions?
56.
Oh, God, you've ruined it now.
It's 56, isn't it?
You've ruined it.
Wait, was I right?
No.
Oh.
But you predicted like the lowest number ever.
Well, because if you start with 1,000.
He's actually done 12,057. No, it's 200.
He's done 200
He's done
damage.
200 damage to enemy champions at 23 minutes in the game. Betty, do you know? That's less than 10 damage a minute.
Yes, I can see that. Well, Razork definitely has not had the strongest first game of the split, but there's still an opportunity for him to redeem himself. Only a 3k gold deficit, not the end of the world. Thank you, observers, for toggling that, and you can see how much of a deficit Misfits is in when it comes to the vision control. Rogue are strangling them right now, and they're looking for a pick.
Didn't realize it was going to happen, and Supreme Despair Talent locks him up, but he does manage to flash away just before Larssen can get those final auto attacks in to take him down.
But that's all they need in order to clear out all this additional vision that Misfits had put down. The question is, will they start off the Baron?
Yes.
Yes, they will. But look, DanDan, Razork, they just walk through their jungle. They don't care. They're utilizing their numbers to walk into the Baron pit. This is going to force Rogue to stop, but can Rogue find a fight?
Larssen still has the flank position, doesn't have the ult, but could look for it. Finn going in with the Vanguard's edge. Razork flashes away. Finn chases him down. Denyk going forward. Here comes the damage. Bvoy on the back line. And Summer doing the same. Razork is already down, but here comes Febiven. And Finn will fall as well. 1-for-1 trade in the jungle of Misfits. And both teams decide to back away.
So execution was a little bit off there for Rogue. They wanted to try and utilize the damage that they did to Febiven in order to rush down the Baron, but they left a large area of the jungle completely exposed, so Misfits, there was no fear. They could just walk straight up to the Baron and then look to walk away. Rogue tried to force a fight into that narrow choke point, but actually a very good job, and ultimate stopped the rest of Rogue being able to find a successful follow-up, meaning it ends up only being a 1-for-1.
Rogue looking for their second Ocean Dragon. Febiven is going to spot them out, but already the Dragon's gone. And that means Rogue are now generating 5% of their missing health every 5 seconds. Only keep stacking up from here. You no longer get mana just from an Ocean Dragon itself. You only get that from the soul. But all that extra regen is definitely going to help out when you have these back and forth trades.
So you can see they're trying to utilize Aphelios' quick Baron taking power, but immediately they have to disengage, and the collapse comes in from Rogue. Febiven, of course, is not here yet, but then Larssen comes in, the flash ultimate from Finn, and then you hit. We'll see the... or actually just see Denyk act as a body block and hit. This ultimate from Razork makes it very difficult for any further follow-up to come out from the rest of Rogue, meaning that Misfits can just use this choke point to take advantage of the range of Bvoy, and then Febiven to come in for that pick at the end.
Let's have a look at exactly where we are in terms of items as well, Vedius. That 3,000 gold lead has stayed there or thereabouts for the last few minutes for Rogue. You've got Infinity Edge and Essence Reaver on Hans Summer. The Mura mana fully stacked up on Bvoy now. He's got the Duskblade as well. That means he is starting to come out of that dip of damage in the mid-game. You have only got one item on Febiven. He's finished his Luden's Echo, but look towards that top lane. DanDan, Essence Reaver, and the Trinity Force complete. That Gangplank has huge zone control in fights and will be outputting a lot of damage if he can get those kegs off.
I agree with you, Medic. But again, it's Rogue who is setting up control over the map. They once again push in mids. They have pushed top as well. And it's just going to suffocate Misfits out of the jungle. They need Finn to regroup with the team. He does have his teleport up.
Here we go. Febiven's dead. He's dead. There's no way you get away from that. Larssen, beautifully done.
Yeah, Larssen, very well played. We've been seeing him kind of out-trade Febiven pretty much every time they come out of the laning phase, and this time he was finally able to find a kill. Good stuff there from Larssen. And Febiven falling to the wayside, not finding much success with this LeBlanc pick as the Baron started off.
Once again, Larssen just acting as a bodyguard. The Cannon Barrage will stop Rogue in their tracks for the time being. But Larssen knows that they have a lot of vision control up here, so he can use these extra bushes to gain control. Finn in the mid lane, still just pushing in that way, but now he has the flank position. 5,000 HP left on the Baron. DanDan trying to keep Finn away from the fight as he puts the kegs down. And Misfits have done a good job of making sure that Rogue can't get that Baron for free.
The thing is for Rogue, though, is they were able to push in waves. Misfits is going to keep losing farm. Yeah. Misfits still have, Rogue still have good control around the Baron. And overall, this has been Rogue's game from the start. Yeah. They have had firm control. Once again, we have to praise Hans Summer and Vander for how they played the 2 versus 2. They just straight up beat Bvoy and Denyk in a matchup that really they shouldn't have won. And like, you only compare it to the first 2v2 of the day, of course, right? Like where Mickey and Caps were just utilizing their range, really punishing, putting a lot of pressure down and making things difficult. Of course, they did die in the 2v2, but that was more of an overextension play rather than how they actually executed the early laning phase. So,
and it comes back to that point you were making about Hans Summer. He pushes his buttons really well. Like he's clocking in at 10 CS a minute in this game where no one else on his team's really giving up too much CS either. He's just farming really well. He's sitting at 3 items. Give him someone like Aphelios and he can really shine. Finn here perhaps caught out in the bottom lane. Dawning Shadow gets the shield on Febiven and DanDan, but what will Rogue do with the fact that they know their top laner is down?
Well, I love the adaptation that we saw from Misfits because, again, if we refer back to the minimap, something that kept happening was this lane was being pushed in the bot lane, this lane was also being pushed in, and then they would collapse in order to gain pressure around the top side jungle. So instead what they did, Misfits side, they sent 2 members down to the bot side of the map, right? And then when the rotation tried to come through from the Irelia, they then punished.
Makes sense.
And so you catch enemies while they try to make that rotation, and that's how you can stymie some of the pressure that comes out from the opposition. And I do like this play, but now we're seeing Larssen being sent towards the bot side of the map, which means that they're setting up for the Ocean Drake, spawning in 40 seconds. That's going to be the 3rd of the game, and they're going to rely on the fact that Finn does have his TP, and oh, actually, they're just going to bring him straight to the bot lane, so they don't want to waste that TP, and they want to try and keep this team grouped up for now.
So can you extrapolate for me? Like if you're Rogue in that situation, you brought Larssen down, is that the single play you have to make to stop that from happening again, or should you be looking to do other things?
I think you just have to respect it a little bit more.
Yeah.
Ooh, fight.
Vander straight on the front line, but Larssen has the flank position here. Vander's down to half HP, Razork the same. Larssen jumps in, flashes away, and Hans Summer gets himself on the board once again. Supreme display of talent on DanDan. Won't lock him up for long, because of course he has those oranges. And now Rogue. This is the third Ocean, if they get it. 7.5% health regeneration every 5 seconds. See, it's already going to start working on Vander. Misfits might just give it up. It's not a soul. It's not the end of the world if you lose this. But it does put you on a timer once again. Larssen still in that top side of the blue jungle. Misfits trying to get the push in mid, but just can't even get close to that tower. They've only taken 1 turret this entire game, Vedius. And still that gold lead sits at 3,000. But Rogue are finding these picks. They're finding these little advantages that they need.
So what was really cool about that last fight, as we see Febiven looking for a pick, but he's not going to convert it into much. What was really cool about that fight was how the flank from Larssen looked like it failed. What it did was basically act as a giant red flag. Because if you look at the backline of Misfits, they immediately go, whoa, 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 Larssen, Larssen, Larssen. And everyone ignores Razork. He just gets completely abandoned. No more follow-up, no more support, because all they have their eyes on is Larssen.
Yep.
And then Larssen just kind of like, he does a drive-by, right? He's like, he's there, and he's like, no, I'm out. And then he's gone immediately. So now the backline of Misfits is like, wait, now we have to turn back. Oh, wait, our front line is dead. We now can't do anything. So it's one of those situations where doing nothing and just being there contributed more than just trying to force a play.
It's the threat of something rather than the actual execution of it. 31 minutes in the game. Rogue have been playing around this bound for quite a while. They set up good vision control. They're using that triangular vision that we always used to talk about, which still works even with the Ocean Rift. You can put a couple more wards into the jungle to make sure that you can spot out everything. But this is what worked for Misfits last time. Hey, Betty. Do you want to play a game of Medic's Minutia?
Okay, Medic, let's play.
How much damage do you think Razork has done to enemy champions this game?
I'm going to say less than 1,000.
Yep. You are correct. Febiven locked up by Larssen, but doesn't take too much. He's got the Seekers.
He's also got Banshees. So the moment that the root landed, he didn't get rooted. So you need that initial damage before you can actually get a kill.
I mean, is this a worry for Rogue? We talked about how in Pick Man they picked the Gragas to get a little bit of AP while the fight does go on here. Denyk catching out Vander. Febiven jumping in. They can't quite kill Vander. The Dawning Shadow not enough, but Vander has to flash away. Razork on the front line. Still so tanky. Able to get one, and here comes the cannon barrage. Febiven jumping onto Hans Summer. Hans Summer with a long range crescendo, but he is shut down. A gun to the face from DanDan will take out the former Misfits player. And now Misfits are the ones on the front foot.
Yes, Medic, I think Misfits should start to get worried. The way in which they were setting up for this Baron was a little bit greedy. They've been managing their sideways very well, but Rogue made a big mistake there. We saw panic come out from Vander in that last team fight. The flash was not good. He missed his Q, and now it is Misfits starting up the Baron.
Oh, Febby! Pops the stopwatch. Larssen has to run away now. The
big crit.
Follow him. Febiven jumping forward. Larssen in the 1v1, but Inspired has been ignited. He's running away. The Baron is still aggroed here by DanDan. Misfits going to turn back towards it. Inspired may still look for the steal. Has burned his flash. Been there on the front line. Has the Vanguard's edge available if he wants to go in. Here comes Larssen as well. Supreme display of talent. Lands on one, but the heal up with the piercing darkness. Finn jumping in. Oh, the Baron goes down. It's Razork who gets it. Denyk and Bvoy will get out. DanDan will go down, but that's 2 Barons over to Misfits.
Wow, and suddenly this game has opened up a little bit as Misfits secure themselves the first Baron of the game. Very close stuff there, but massive props to Larssen. He played that so well. He's been having a great Qiyana game so far in this game, but now Misfits can use this Baron to buy some time. Let's have a look back at this initial fight. You can see that Vander and Hans Summer, they think they're safe, but Larssen and Inspired not in a good position. Finn is basing. He gets chunked out, and then look, he flashes basically on the spot. He misses his Q, which could have helped Hans Summer in this final engage, and then Hans Summer throws out his ultimate, with which Febiven uses an opportunity to flash on top of his face and chunk him out. Then, of course, Misfits they go up towards the Baron. They look to start things off. Febiven just wants to get a bit of health back. He does not expect the Qiyana to arrive, but good response here with the Zhonyas. Larssen takes a huge amount of damage, and Febiven's like, I've got this, I've got this.
Oh, that's so well played.
He dashes out, he dashes back in, he gets the kill, and he walks away like a god. Beautiful stuff from Larssen. And then we get to see back here the Baron. Like, Larssen's not done yet. He still has his ultimate up. He never used it in that last fight. Just look at the damage that it does. Bvoy forced to use his cleanse. He would have died if he hadn't used it there. Great deny from Denyk, keeping Inspired out of the pit. Can't get in fast enough to smite that one away, which means it does go in favor of Razork. But Misfits walk away with the Baron, as Misfits still lose a bunch of members. Ocean Dragon now spawning. Misfits have to fight for this.
They definitely do. They would be one dragon away from a soul again, but look at the flanks. These last two games have been defined by flanking plays from mid laners, from supports, and it's Rogue who have set it up once again. Larssen on the Qiyana. Denyk's like, oh, I'm going to spot you out, mate. I need to find you. Larssen is spotted. Still has that edge of night. Has the shield. Rogue now will use this time that Larssen's drawing away Misfits to get some vision in the river. Larssen jumps forward once again. Febiven trying to chase him down. We'll get rid of that spell shield, but here we go. Ocean Dragon, 5,000 HP on it. Misfits, you gotta fight, you gotta go for it, because otherwise you're giving up the Ocean Soul, and that healing will be instrumental in the next fight. Here comes the death charge. Nation Fisher used as well. Inspired, jumping forward up towards the top side. Bvoy caught out by Larssen down towards the middle. DanDan is already done, and Denyk is having to run away. Razork trying to escape as well, and this will be the Ocean Soul going over to Rogue.
Regen for days for Rogue, and while the flank did not work out for Larssen this time, he still contributed to the fight. Jumping on top of Bvoy, forcing him out, separating the squad of Misfits. You can see this Baron buff is doing nothing for them, as Rogue, still with 5 members, a mid lane wave, they're looking to break into the base of Misfits.
And that regeneration on Hans Sommer, on Larssen, is going to be catastrophic for Misfits to try and fight. You can see the Baron power play, they lost 2,000 gold during that play. Now the inhibitor the target. For some reason Razork's down towards the bottom lane, but it would have been a 4v5 anyway. The inhibitor will fall. Rogue crack open the base of Misfits. And next on the menu has to be one of those outer turrets in the side lane. I was going to say Baron, but it's still 2.5 minutes away.
Yeah, but I think that will be primarily the next focus. They're going to steal away some jungle camps, but they need to reset. They've got to spend the gold. Let's have a look back at this fight. Of course, this is towards the very start of it. Denyk is the primary focus. Hans Sommer backs away, and you can see immediately onto the backline. Good stopwatch there from Bvoy, but Razork gets chunked out. Febiven not really doing anything in the fight. He's trying to get onto Larssen, who's just running away, utilizing the ability of the Qiyana to perfection. While DanDan is left in the pit, trying to just secure that Ocean Drake so that Rogue don't get the soul, but it was not enough. Misfits now 4.5k gold deficit. Yep. Rogue have the right stuff. The Baron spawning in 2 minutes.
And we've had one sort of really chaotic game today, Vedius, and 2 games that have been much slower, much more like this. It feels like teams are less willing to take those explosive fights a lot of the time. There are still fights in this, but a lot of the time it's been, oh, you know, we'll make a pick here, we'll push you back here, and you give up the ground, rather than we get all of this action and all of the kills that we had in game 1.
I feel like it's a symptom of like having more tanks in the game. Okay. There's more frontline, which means that fighting, to me, almost becomes harder. Fewer people die.
Sure.
Whereas last year, we had like very squishy comps overall. You know, you'd have squishy jungler, carry top laner, like squishy supports.
Yeah, like Rakans.
Rakans, exactly, you know? And so, as a result, I felt like that in fights, way more people would die because there was, on average, more damage, and there was less frontline.
That makes sense.
But now you're seeing, like, Braums and Nautilus. Like, Nautilus has always been strong, right? But it feels to me that there's just more of a frontline.
I see that.
It's harder for dying. Like,
and also, like, I'm asking you to define a meta after 3 games, which I don't need to be doing. Like, I was just, it interested me. So
yeah, but it's definitely slower. But I like, Rogue lost the Baron, which is what delayed this game. Yeah. In a perfect world for Rogue, obviously, they would have not lost that Baron. They wouldn't have taken a bad team fight, and they would have secured it. They would have won that fight in mid lane, taken the Baron, end the game. Yep. Right? But that's not how things played out. So now, this is why the game's kind of been extended.
Here goes Larssen, trying to get onto DanDan, knocks him back. Oh, goodbye. That wasn't fun for him at all. Bvoy's ult didn't even have time to connect. Larssen's had a stellar performance.
Qiyana panning out the KDA.
303.
Two Infinity Edges are done for DanDan. But I don't think that's going to help him when you're just getting one shot by the Larssen.
The Larssen now.
The Larssen.
If you perform this well,
after
you
his
earn
performance,
the
yeah, he is the. You know, Perks was saying at the beginning of the day he's not afraid of any mid laner. Larssen's like, hey, how's it going?
The Larssen and Luca the Bazooka might fight each other at some point, but this will be the Baron for Rogue. No real way of Misfits contesting it at all. No one's near it. So that will be Baron. We'll see what Rogue can do with it, because in 2 minutes there is the Elder Dragon coming up as well. And we've seen that stolen away once already today. Go Rogue, go back to the fountain, reset, and see if you can
yeah, it should just
close out.
It should just be simple case of split push now. Not quite split pushing, but you split and then you push.
Okay.
So of course, with the mid laner already exposed, with these super minions pushing down, I think they could send Qiyana top because she can 2v1 at this point. I think she's way stronger than the Irelia, so you don't need to feel like you need that teleport there. And if they tried to fight if Misfits tried to fight Rogue in a 5v4 on the bot side of the map, then Qiyana's just going to melt through that tower because of how much attack damage. Like, she's full build.
Yeah.
So...
Hansel was critting for 1,000 damage as well. He's full build.
Okay, this also works. So you push in mid and then you actually rotate up towards... So you play towards the Qiyana rather than away from her. Of course, like, this makes more sense in the aspect that Finn does have the teleport available.
Sure.
So he's now pushing in bot lane. The super unit's going to be pushing in there. Here's the rest of Rogue pushing in top. And this is kind of like cookie cutter, what you do with the Baron.
Yeah. I mean, it works, right? That's the reason that we know it's what you do with the Baron. They have an 8,000 gold lead. Going to try and open up this inhibitor tower in the top lane. Hans Summer sitting with Gravitum and Severum, so doesn't have the long range that he would like to really siege this turret, but with a cannon, Baron up cannon minion and Larssen in the mid lane, it's pretty easy to do.
Now, I'll tell you the other thing. With Baron losing 30 seconds, that's also a large part of why games take slightly longer to end.
I see that.
Because obviously, you know, you would have 2 minutes now rather than a minute and a half, which does make a difference when it comes to sieging in this situation. So I think that's also about, we can kind of need 2 Barons now unless you're really far ahead.
Ooh, Moonlight Vigil there, missed from Hans Summer. More exploratory than anything. The inhibitor has respawned in the middle lane, but top lane inhibitor tower is about to go down. In the bottom lane, the inhibitor tower has fallen as well, and the base of Misfits is well and truly cracked. Like an egg on Easter, it's open. And we'll see them losing all 3 of their inhibitors. Finn's taken bot. Here comes the engage. Razork going in, but the environment has been propped by Hans Summer, and Razork really can't do too much about that at all. Aphelios claims 1. You see the damage coming down onto Finn as well, but Hans Summer's still opening up, looking for Bvoy. That's a shutdown, but it goes over to Finn, and Hans Summer splashing forward, looking for the kills. Gets Denyk, gets Bvoy, and Rogue evades them. Misfits fall apart in their base, and Rogue will open up their docket with a win here in the LEC. A dominant performance. Took a little longer than they wanted, but Rogue will go Rogue in game 1.
Yeah, I think that what we got to see was very strong 2v2 performance from Hans Summer. Rogue kind of being calm and calculated, similar to what we saw last split in their early game. Very methodical, great utilization of where their power was and how they moved it around the map. And then we got to see some pop-off plays from Larssen. A couple solo kills, a couple of good flanks. Like, expectations were high for this mid laner last year, and I feel like he's starting off the split very strong already.
I really feel like it doesn't feel like Rogue have skipped a beat. They went from the end of last year, beating Splice, losing out in the end, not quite making it to Worlds, but this was a very strong performance from them. A couple of mistakes, but nothing too major that they'll be worried about.
What's important to recognize is there were still those mistakes.
Oh, yeah.
And like, you got to remember that the reason why they were losing games last split was because of those small late game mistakes.
Yeah.
That fight against the G2, do they still lose that Baron?
Yeah.
You know, they secure the Baron, but do they lose as many people?
Yeah.
You know, like, and it's one of these things where, like, I don't want to start criticizing Rogue already. Obviously, it's day 1, but this is a team where expectations are kind of like they're fighting for top 4.
Yeah.
So you got to ask these questions, like, against a Fnatic, against a G2.
Against an Origin, perhaps.
Yeah, perhaps.